going to be a rough journey. It's very exciting once you get the admission and then you get the visa process. But keep up the spirits and always think about, why you're coming here. Because if you stay self-motivated, then nothing can detract you. So the main thing is stay motivated regardless of the challenges that will come. And then I feel like, especially who have lived in their comfort zone till maybe 18 years if they're coming for undergrad, or 22, 21 years if they're coming for masters. So West is completely different here. It's not just like studying. You have to do all the other chores, the billing, the figure out like the routes, transportation. Just be prepared for all the challenges.
You're listening to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast, released bi-weekly every Sunday at 5 p.m. on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple iTunes. Welcome to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast. Today we have Mehak Zaidi, who completed her studies from LUMS in Accounting and Finance and her Master's in Finance from McMaster University. Some of her prior work includes working at RBC and S&P Global Ratings. She's now the Associate Director at Finch Ratings. Pleasure having you on, Mehak.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I guess we can kick off. Do you mind chatting or talking about your time in Pakistan? You could go wherever you want to go with this in terms of your experience.
I grew up in Karachi, was born there, did my initial schooling from city school, and then we moved to Saudi. So I've done my O-levels, A-levels from there, and then I moved back to Pakistan for my undergrad. And I got admission in a lot of universities abroad, but because of financial constraints, I decided it's good to just go back and get my 4 years education from Pakistan. So in terms of studying, you would say LUMS is a great institute. I made a lot of memories, a lot of good memories. There are also times when we had a lot of study pressure. So besides that, made lifelong friends, got mentorship from experienced professors. So I lived mostly my 4 years were spent in the hostel, in the LUMS premises. And then I did explore like historical places of Lahore. I would say living there, it was completely different from the West because other than studying, we had all the help. So there were maids to clean the clothes, the rooms, food was cooked in the mess. So we had nothing to worry about besides studying. So that was it. That was completely different from when I moved here and experienced all the other things. I would say it was a good experience, and I would recommend like anyone not having enough funds to go abroad for 4 years of education to definitely look at local options. They're also good, and yeah.
Got you. So are there any general like good memories you had, like in terms of the friends group you made or the professors that you had? Was there a specific experience that really stood out when I asked the question?
Okay, most of my memories are good. Again, like the main thing was making the friend circle. I'm not sure how much, but when you live in Middle East in a bubble, it's completely different from going to Pakistan, where it was hard for me to open up initially, and people were coming already in the groups. Like they were coming from same A-levels institutes, so they were already friends. So getting into a circle was difficult initially. And that's the challenge I faced in my first year of LUMS. But like slowly, I made a nice friend circle, and the good memories were exploring the old places in Lahore and also going to like other places far from Lahore, experiencing the villages. So that's one thing. The second thing is getting independence, like first time getting out of my home, my comfort zone, making decisions on my own. So I just felt more liberated in that sense. And I remember like whenever I used to get that, friends used to go out and buy new clothes or just try new cuisine. So that was my first experience. And over time, like in those 4 years, especially the last year, we have a lot of cultural things in the university for seniors. Like there's cultural day.
Yeah.
There are like other events, farewell. So those are like, I feel like lifelong memories. that are going to stay with me. And even now, even though I haven't been to Lahore after my graduation, I still like some, yeah, still I really want to go and show my husband like how LUMS is and like the places where we used to eat, we used to sit. Yeah, that's that.
Got you. And did you have any key connections in Pakistan that shaped you in terms of as a professional?
So I've always been good in studying, and especially when I was doing teaching assistantship with three professors, so I got more time to connect with them. I also had one mentor in LUMS, so if I had any problems, not able to take that much stress or work or course load, so I always used to go to him, and he used to advise me. That was one thing. So other than the professors, we had a lot of group projects. So I reached out to different people, took the initiative for the group projects, and I used to learn from people working at the top levels. But yeah, those were my mentors. And also, I would say, besides my core courses, I took like electives in different subjects. So those things really transformed me. Like anthropology, so that was taught by a German professor. So I got to experience anthropology from his perspective, and then I took philosophy. So those teachers have studied from like renowned institutes. They got back to Pakistan. So there was a lot of things I learned from them. Yeah.
Okay. And as you were working towards your education, was there any societal or obstacles in terms of pressures along the way that you felt?
Thankfully, I would say I did not feel any pressure. Like my parents were always supportive.
Okay.
So it was like one on the opposite. Like sometimes I used to rant with them that it's hard and I cannot do the courses. But my
Yeah.
dad was supportive. He used to give me examples of other his colleagues and their daughters who have studied, gone abroad and studied. So that helped me. And being the eldest daughter, I had pressure to set good example for my siblings. So
Yeah.
that was one thing. But other than that, like it was my dad who really wanted me to stay in hostel because those things really help to make a person's personality in a positive way. Yeah. But the good thing was that it was close to Saudi and my parents were living there. So I used to go home every 4 months, like after every semester.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. And then the support was always there from my parents, from my extended parents, from my
Gotcha.
extended family.
Yep. So I know you meant like you wrote an article on the Medium about women and personal finance. So you talked about the importance of women understanding money management, whether they're working or not. And if you were to narrow down some key reasons why you think that's essential, what's your thoughts on that?
I feel like women in general, like obviously there are exceptions, are they're impulse buyers, and we live in credit economy. So it's very easy to see something on Instagram, to see something like while you're browsing and you buy it. But like how if you're living in a highly inflated world right now, and
Mhm.
it's more than right now, like it's more important for women to know about to know money management than before because it's important to save money for rainy days.
Yep.
And a lot of times they will be overspending and they might not know because that's being spent on credit. How would it be recovered? Or it creates a lot of pressure for the household and also for the long term decision for your kids' education. So what I meant in the article was for women to think long term, to think about once they have kids, to think about their future because everything is going with inflation. It's getting
Yep.
expensive day by day.
Right.
So knowledge of about money, even if you're not earning, but if your partner is earning, like how much is he earning, how much are the expenses is very important because what we see on Instagram or social media, traveling and taking so many trips, looks good on social media, but it's important to assess can we afford it, to have peace in the house, peace in the mind, and also have like peaceful future. If you can manage the money now, if you would be in a better position in the future, then not thinking about money at all.
Got you. No, that makes complete sense. So
Yeah.
in terms of actually going from Pakistan to Canada, or like abroad to the West, like how was that experience like? How did you get exposed to actually going abroad, and how has that experience been?
So I always wanted to do masters,
Okay.
but as I told you before, like it wasn't that I was a good student. I got gold medal in LUMS, but that doesn't help in getting scholarships. So especially in the field of finance and business, it's not easy to get like full funding scholarships. I knew that I have to select a university that is affordable for my dad and also something a pathway that would lead me to stay there permanently instead of going there and coming back. So I did a lot of research, applied to a lot of universities, got accepted, but I chose McMaster and Canada for main reason was that Canada at that time and even now it's a PR friendly country, so it
Okay.
gives you the pathway to be here permanently. So to answer your question, like I knew I want to do the master, I want to go abroad for higher education, but then I did a lot of research to find out what fits in like in my budget, what fits, what would help me to stay there permanently, what would help, which program would help me to get a good internship and then job. So I did those workings before coming to Canada.
Got you. A lot of people struggle when, they first shift to the West and they actually try getting the actual job that they might be interested in that they studied. So, how did you manage to get your first role and then build up from there?
Okay.
Okay.
Especially abroad, when in my case, like I did not know anyone here. I didn't get any referral from my relatives. So I knew I had to rely on networking with as many people as I can.
Yep.
So the main platform was because I studied from LUMS, I have an alumni association here, reaching out to them. And also, I did not hesitate reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Especially, like I was living in Hamilton, but still, like I used to keep a diary of making notes. Like I've connected with this person and go on a coffee chat. Come on weekends to downtown for a coffee chat and just learning about industry. It did not help me to get the job. Like at the end, I got my RBC job from University Portal, like RBC internship from University Portal, and like my first job from Indeed. So the networking, but it helped me to learn about different areas in finance and the struggles that other people faced.
Got you. And how was the experience at RBC? Like in
RBC was really good. At that time, we were going to office 5 days a week, and I was working in merchant payment solutions. So it was not 100% related to finance. It was more
Yep.
about marketing and variance analysis. So I feel like it was creative, and then the people that my teammates were very friendly. So I enjoyed my 4 months time in RBC, did a lot of volunteering work. So it was, I would say, fun. And
Okay.
also my first exposure in downtown. So
Yep.
I subleased my apartment in Hamilton, went to downtown, and that's a completely different world. You need to know the transportation, the buses. So I would say it was a memorable experience.
Yeah, traveling from Hamilton to downtown, that's what, like 2 to 3 hours, 3, 4 hours?
No, we have from there it's an express bus, so that's
Okay.
good. And it takes 60 minutes to reach there. So I
Okay.
did my calculation. It wasn't working to go every day back and forth. So I subleased my apartment in Hamilton and moved to downtown
Got you.
for the internship.
Yeah. So then how did you leverage the internship to get your next role in terms of, yeah, exactly. How did you go about it?
So the good thing about RBC is that they have 5 to 6 buildings within downtown.
Okay.
And I used to take advantage of whenever I had less workload because I was an intern. It wasn't that stressful. Like the work increases as your level increases. So I used to use my time and even go to different buildings. I was interested in finance, capital markets mainly. So that was a complete different building of RBC within downtown premises. So I connected with a lot of people, did
Oh,
a lot of coffee chats to
yeah.
learn about their role, are they liking it or not, That was what I did. And it, again, like for S&P, I got the job from Indeed. So it didn't like exactly help me, but it gave me confidence. It enabled me to meet with different kind of people, learn from them, ask questions. It removed my hesitation that I had like during my first coffee chat. I didn't know what questions to ask. And then by the time I was finishing my internship, I was really confident, made a lot of good connections. And like besides RBC, all the offices are there. So I used to connect with people in PwC, KPMG. Also, I connected with credit rating, someone from credit rating within RBC. That's how I got to know about what credit rating is
Yeah.
and how is it different from equity analysis, what opportunities I have there. So that's how I learned about the job that I finally got after graduation.
Okay, and when you reached out to the individuals in RBC, did you follow up through your email in terms of like direct contact, or was it more you reached out on LinkedIn externally, or was it mostly internally?
No, so internally, when I was doing my internship, there was a portal. I don't remember exactly, but that portal enabled you to send invites internally
Oh, wow.
and
That's
get the
nice.
responses. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, they were encouraging the internees to connect with people. And also, there was a volunteer page that we could access. So they were very friendly and open to the fact that this is the time that you can leverage to make connections, know different areas within banking. So mainly it used to be internally. I remember the page was coffee chat something. I don't
Oh, I
remember
see. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So most of the time I used to do internal connection with other people, like people with from other companies. I used to connect via LinkedIn.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people when they get these internships into banks, they don't realize the scope of how big these banks are. So being
Yeah.
able to see the different areas, like you mentioned, capital markets. There's also, I guess, credit risk. It might be part of.
Yeah, there's
Oh, that's good.
credit risk that's
There's a
separate.
bunch. Yeah.
There's derivatives. Within finance, there are like so many sub streams that a person can go in.
Yeah. So following your next role, you mentioned you got through Indeed. So how was that experience like?
Just wanted, as soon as I graduate, I wanted my job to be
Right.
there because of the 1 mark year window you have, right, to apply for internship.
Yep.
And then I used to apply like maybe 100 applications every day. And then I got a lot of interviews, but I feel like I got a job from BMO and S&P that I was like thinking which one to accept, and then I finally accepted the S&P one because credit rating was something that I thought in that time I was like I like it, and then it's not as stressful. In BMO, I was getting a role of market special. It was like derivatives and modeling the options and their trajectory of how they'll perform in the future. So based on my interview, I had a sense that S&P job would be a good fit for me as a newbie and to learn more. So that was a research assistant position. And the good thing was I got mentorship. One of my colleagues was a mentor. Initially, I shadowed her to understand how rating works. And then I was in healthcare. So to understand the US healthcare system, how that works, how government funding impacts the healthcare companies. So it was a good exposure. Plus, people were very senior to me. So they always took out time to whenever I got stuck in something, they took out time to explain me.
Got you. Okay. So in terms of the role itself, what does it involve?
Used to do, and then how I was a support analyst, so how I used to help them with the work. So within healthcare, I learned that it's a huge sector. So there's pharmaceutical, there are med devices, there are providers, hospitals, then there's within life sciences, there are like research organizations that research the drugs. I
Mhm.
was in the provider space, which deal with the hospitals and they provide nurses for services. So we get a lot of companies, and because S&P is one of the largest credit rating agency, I think almost all the big names like Johnson and Johnson's,
Yep.
GSK, all of them we have a huge portfolio of the companies. Like we cover almost all the North American healthcare companies. So they come to us and then we have to provide them with a credit rating
Yeah.
depending on their financial performance. And mostly we used to look at like different ratios from the equity analyst. So the main thing is debt, how much debt the company has, what
Yeah.
is the rate at which they have taken the debt and the maturity. Are they close to refinancing risk? Just look at their bankruptcy, look at the key ratios. So the main ratios that we look at, and this is the public information. So I think it's good for people to know that when they're looking at the ratings, like AA, AAA, or lower categories. So that means there are two main things: debt and the free cash flows the company has based on our ratios. And then there's an entire criteria guide that needs to be read. So based on the ratios, the rating is assigned to the companies, and then every year it's updated. But they're also like event driven. So if a company does merger, or if a company like acquires another big firm, or if there's something like COVID that impacted like all the industries, so
Yeah.
then there has to be like reviewing the companies again. So that's what the job is about. And this job is the same across the credit rating firms. So S&P, Fitch, Moody's, these are the three big names. So the job stays the same for a credit analyst. But again, the responsibilities increase as you go up the ladder. And in S&P, I used to help with first of all, auditing the financial statements of the company, depending on our audit criteria. So the big four auditors, they have like different criteria. So
Yeah.
I think every company has their own way of getting out to the company's EBITDA and specific ratios. So that was my role. First of all, auditing the financial statements and then creating the model to see where the company is standing. And then I used to work with the primary analyst on the package. Yeah, so that was my role there.
Got you. So you later got into Finch Ratings. You mentioned as
Yeah,
well briefly there. So in terms of the progress that you had from an analyst all the way to associate, congratulations on that.
thank you.
How do you, in terms of, because a lot of people they struggle getting that those the next to the next level. So
Yeah.
how did you approach that with your seniors, and how was that process like for you?
Switching from S&P to Fitch. That was an opportunity. So my present managing director reached out to me on LinkedIn, and that's how I connected with him. At that time, Fitch was growing in Toronto, so they wanted more people, and I really liked the team. So he connected me with the entire healthcare team in Fitch, and that's how I learned about the team, the work they do. The interview process was very rigorous,
Yeah.
and I would say it was slow. So the whole process took 2.5 months.
Okay.
And we have the final interview stage was to present about a company and give a presentation to all the director level people at Fitch. So the process was rigorous, but then that's how I got in the company. So I would say using LinkedIn is a good way to connect with people. And if you're active, people also know you. Sometimes they can reach out to you or via messages. So
Yep.
there's always an opportunity. If people keep an eye on it and if they're active on LinkedIn, they might find positions on that.
Got you. And in terms of communicating with your senior, did you have like key metrics that you discussed that, okay, I need to hit this in order to reach the next level? Or was it
Yeah,
more fluid that there wasn't that much discussion on that?
because like everyone else is also working towards it,
Yeah.
and people are similarly capable, if not more. I would say that people at Fitch are very capable. They work hard, they have subject matter expertise, so there's no doubt in it. And everyone, I mean, it's all the people, they are pretty qualified. So it's difficult to get promotion. And what happens is that there is a specific, like annually, there is a specific month where most promotions happen. So
Okay.
with me, what happened was that I went on mat leave last year. So I was gone for the entire 12 months. And I didn't get the promotion when everyone else, like other people in the company, got the promotion. So when I joined back in September of 2024. So I was doing a lot of work. And then we had one-on-one with my manager. And that's when I discussed with him that like I'm doing all the right work. How do I go to the next step, next position? So he shared with me the metrics, and then he was like,
Okay.
okay, you're doing this, but you need to do this extra work. So I did take on like extra work on top of my workload, supervising the junior analyst and
Yeah.
like being more involved in extra activities, doing more publications that senior analysts, senior directors are doing. So I was in the middle helping the junior colleagues and also taking out time to do write ups which are published. So
Right.
it was, but it's not easy because we were getting a lot of work at that time. And I sometimes had to even work at night. I didn't have a fixed schedule of just working 9 to 5. So I did spend a lot of extra hours. And then I would say my manager and mainly the manager and the senior manager, they were supportive and they promoted me. They understood that I'm doing all the work and they decided to promote me. So I'm really thankful to them as well. Yeah.
Got
So
you.
we had a couple of one-on-ones on this, and I discussed with my manager. And that's what I would say say everyone like once you think you're ready for the next step, you have spent like enough years on one position, one title, then it's good to have like open discussion, tell them what you need. And especially in North America, I feel like these big organizations they understand. And if you are doing the right thing, you'll get the result of it.
Got it. And in terms of the habits you've developed, like when you look back at your time when you first moved here all the way to where you are now, is there any specific habits you remember that you've been doing or still doing to this day that's helped you reach this level?
I came here, I had a whole plan with me. I have to get my degree, get my job, get the PR. So I stick with it and didn't detract myself from it. There were times, especially in pandemic, when everything was closed, the flights were closed, and I couldn't go back and meet my parents. I did feel like giving up, and I was like, "What's the point of being here alone?" But then I always thought about the long-term goal. This is a phase that's going to pass, and as I was said earlier, my parents were supportive. So even when I used to feel like I cannot make it anymore, like my dad used to
Yeah.
give me positive affirmations, so that helped. So one thing is like keeping a diary and writing down like what your goals are. Maybe you can do it every year, like New Year resolution, or just make a plan what you want and then stick to it. And everyone has like different objectives in life. So
Yeah.
for me it was like reaching a certain point in my professional career, and then there were personal goals as well. So manifestation is also a key. Once you write down the goals, you manifest, and then you work hard for it. So I would say then the higher being helps you achieve those things.
Got you. And just to wrap up the career aspect, in terms of when you can take your time with this question, when you first moved to the West, would you tell yourself anything in terms of advice or just to accelerate your career?
I think I could not have accelerated it any earlier than what I have achieved right now. But there are like everyone has constraints in life. So for me, I got admission in Masters of Finance instead of MBA. And
Mhm.
the problem that I faced was a lot of HR people, they don't, in their description, they write MBA. And they don't even see your resume, even though you have done all the courses. So it took me like double the effort than someone who has done an MBA from Canada. Because one thing that I noticed here, especially in
Mhm.
Canada, I'm not sure about US, they go by the book. So if there is a
Yep.
requirement, they want that person. So when I used to look at like my MBA colleagues, because we had like similar classes, we were in a couple of classes together. So it was relatively easier for them to get into the job industry than someone from MFin. And my batchmates struggled a lot. There
Yeah.
were people who stayed unemployed for 1 year,
Oh,
6 months.
yeah.
MFin is a niche field, and a lot of employers didn't know what masters in finance is, and
Oh,
maybe they thought we don't fit in the basic finance roles. And that's where I did more networking. I had to do extra work on my side to land to, in the end, finally I was lucky to get the role via Indeed, but I had to do on my side, I had to do extra work, meet more people, make more connections than someone from who has done an MBA. So I feel like the study that you're doing here matters a lot. If
yeah,
you're studying from a good tier university, Rotman, it would be significantly easier for you. So if someone has the right funding and maybe if they can get scholarship, which I think is difficult in business field, so I would suggest them to go for an MBA because it's more recognized across the country, and that would
got it.
make their path relatively easier.
Got you. And do you have any advice for any individuals that are moving from like the Asian countries and going to the West or specifically Canada, obviously, but do you have any key advices you like to just give?
Going to be a rough journey. It's
Yeah.
very exciting once you get the admission and then you get the visa process. But keep up the spirits and always think about, why you're coming here. Because if you stay self motivated, then nothing can detract you. So the main thing is stay motivated regardless of the challenges that will come. And then I feel like, especially girls and even for guys like who have lived in their comfort zone till maybe 18 years if they're coming for undergrad, or 22, 21 years if they're coming for masters. So it is, west is completely different here. It's not just like studying, you have to do all the other chores, the billing, the figure out like the routes, transportation. Just be prepared for all the challenges. Now things are getting tough. It's important for the new people who especially who are coming as international students to make friends within the community, make friends with people who have come here before to learn from them. And once you have a small community, things like homesickness, depression would be less. And
Yeah.
here you feel more homesickness. So I would say make connections, just don't stay isolated. And it's good to have connections within your community so that you feel sense of belonging and not loneliness. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I would say for the young people is to do their research before coming. There are hidden costs, there are hidden challenges and issues. And if, for example, if your field of study is just 1 year, then you'll just get 1 year of work permit and it would be hard to apply for PR. So do all those research before deciding whether you want to come to Canada, and if yes, which province would you choose, which university would you choose. Do all this research before coming here so that there are no surprises.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap things up, so you can go personally or professionally with this question, or you can go both. So like, how do you define success? You can take your time with this because it's
Okay.
yeah.
Now it's subjective. For different
Yeah.
people, it's different things. For me, success is having peace of mind. That's the main thing. And again, I would go back to the time when I came here, and I used to see people are not stressed about the things I am. Like, I am a temporary resident here and I want to get settled here. So that was a stressful situation for me. So just attaining those, and now that I am a citizen here, I feel more at peace with
Yeah.
that thing. So peace in both aspects. Professionally, if my job is stable and I know that if I'm out for mat leave like I was last time, I knew that my position is secure. So just having that peace in my mind is what success is for me. And personally too, like now, like I have my family here. So it gives me peace that I'm not alone, and the struggles are no, I'm not facing the struggles on my own, and I have people that I can rely on and get the support. So it takes time. to achieve to this point. And even now, I have a lot of personal goals that I have to work on and professional goals as well. But at the end of the day, when I'm sleeping, am I crying, am I depressed, or am I satisfied with the things I have? So that's what success is for me. If I can just go to bed with a peace of mind.
That was great in terms of the experience you talked about from Pakistan all the way to Canada and all your
Yeah.
job experience from RBC to S&P and Finch Ratings and also the personal journey as well. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, and it was great to get your insight.
You, and I hope people can learn from it. If they can just learn one thing, that even a small thing, that would fulfill the purpose.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you.